big well done to Anne Lewis and anybody else who guessed this week's destination as Cadiz in Spain. Stay tuned till the end of this video to hear the riddle for our next destination, and that episode will be uploaded within 2 days. Welcome to Pints, Plates and Passports, and welcome to Cadiz. Cadiz is a city that feels like it's been kissed by the sea for 3,000 years. The Phoenicians landed here, the Romans built here, and the sailors of Spain set sail from here. Every street corner whispers history, every plaza hums with life, and the Atlantic breeze carries stories of empire, trade and adventure. But Cadiz isn't just about monuments and museums, it's about rhythm, the clink of coffee cups, the shuffle of domino tiles, the laughter spilling from cafe-style bars that blur the line between tavern and living room. Here, in this part of the city, the nightlife is slower, more intimate, more local. You don't just drink in Cadiz, you soak it in, sip by sip, sight by sight, landmark by landmark. So today, we'll wander through the character-filled corners where cafe bars double as social hubs and where every stool and countertop has seen generations of conversation. Cadiz may not shout with neon signs, but it sings with soul, and we're here to listen. Step inside Meson Las Brisas, and you're greeted by crisp white walls and timber beams overhead, a frame that feels both homely and timeless. But it's the decor that truly sets the tone, a sailor's gallery of the sea, boats and maps charting distant horizons, a lobster claw and fish mounted like trophies, ship's wheels and weather instruments that once steered men across oceans. Even a collection of sailors' knots, neatly framed, speak of craft and tradition. And hanging proudly the lifebuoy rings, reminders that Cadiz has always been a city of tides and survival. This isn't just a cafe bar, it's a cabin of stories. Every artefact whispers of voyages, every corner nods to the Atlantic. Here, you don't just sip a drink, you feel the breezer, the sea breeze, wrapping around you, carrying Cadiz's maritime soul straight to your table. Spanish bars and taverns don't really have a lot of character, they have substance, but this bar has character in abundance. Meson Las Brisas sits right on the corner of Cadiz's bustling market, and stepping out you can't help but be drawn into its maze of stalls. The market itself is alive with colour and sound, fishmongers calling, locals bargaining, and tucked between it all, a whole constellation of tapas bars. It's like a food court with Andalusian soul, each counter offering its own bite-sized story. Honestly, we could do a whole episode just in here, hopping from one stall to the next and never run out of flavours to film. But today we're on a mission. Our crawl has its own list, its own rhythm, and if we lingered too long among the market's temptations, we'd never make it to the others. So we weave through the stalls, past sizzling pans and clinking glasses, and out of the other side, where our next stop awaits, La Marina, a bar with its own character, ready to carry us deeper into Cadiz's cafe bar heartbeat. From the bustle of the market, we step into La Marina, a bar that feels like Cadiz turned contemporary. Super clean, bright and modern, it's a sharp contrast to the nautical nostalgia of our last stop. Here, the tapas aren't hidden in the kitchen, they're showcased right in the countertop refrigerators, lined up like jewels waiting to be chosen. Behind the bar, shelves gleam with bottles of wine, olive oils, vinegars, a pantry on display, celebrating Andalusian staples. Jars of olives, peppers and all sorts of pickled treasures add colour to the scene. A reminder that Cadiz's flavours are as much about preservation as they are about freshness. And the best part, with every drink, there's a free plate of food. We got some free olives, simple, salty, perfect. It's a gesture that says welcome. Stay a while and enjoy the rhythm of Cadiz hospitality. La Marina may be modern, but it still carries the soul of the city in every pour and every bite. Next up, we land in Cathedral Square, the beating heart of Cadiz, where bars spill into one another with outside seating that turns the plaza into one giant social stage. Here, choice is everywhere, and tonight we chose Demente. We only stopped for a couple of beers, but the food coming out of the kitchen looked incredible. The menu reads like a playful twist on tradition. Carbonara pizza that flips an Italian classic on its head. Tacos stuffed with cheese, spicy mayo and guacamole. Dishes that feel familiar, yet daringly different. Even without ordering, you can sense the creativity in every plate that passes by. Demente fits perfectly into the square's rhythm. Modern, inventive and buzzing with energy. It's the kind of place that tempts you to stay longer and dive into the menu, and to let the cathedral's shadow and the hum of the crowd carry you deeper into Cadiz's cafe bar culture. A short walk brings us to Bar Garum, sleek, modern and inviting. The counter once again is lined with tapas, a familiar Cadiz rhythm, but here it's paired with something extra. A menu of the day that feels like a bargain feast. For just €15.50, you're treated to bread, a drink, a main course and a second course. The kind of offer that makes you wonder how locals ever choose between tapas grazing and sitting down for the full spread. Garum blends contemporary style with traditional generosity. It's polished without losing warmth, modern without losing soul. Whether you're here for a quick bite at the counter or the full menu experience, it's another reminder that Cadiz's cafe bar culture thrives on variety. Each stop offering its own rhythm, its own flavour and its own stamp in our crawl. Just a few doors down, we duck into the Cabin. This is my kind of pub. It's a great little boozer with a personality all of its own. The walls here are lined with box of memorabilia, giving the place a punchy character that sets it apart from Cadiz's cafe bar rhythm. Every frame tells a story of the ring, of fighters, of legends, of sweat and spectacle. One piece in particular catches the eye. A reproduction poster of Jack Johnson's fight with Arthur Craven, Oscar Wilde's poet nephew. A bout staged in Barcelona's bullring. It's a slice of history that feels almost surreal, blending literature, sport and spectacle in one moment. And here it hangs, proudly in a Cadiz pub, adding depth and intrigue to the atmosphere. As a footnote, Craven had 3 fights and 3 losses. But it's absolutely remarkable that he made his debut against Jack Johnson, the world heavyweight champion. The fight was in April 1916. He then had another fight in June 1916, and his final fight took place on September the 15th, 1918 in Mexico. Later that same year, he went missing, presumed dead. Most likely drowned in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Mexico, November 1918. The Cabin may be small, but it packs a punch. A reminder that every stop on the crawl has its own stamp, its own story, and its own way of surprising you. Before we carry on with the crawl, let's take a moment to soak in Cadiz itself. We begin at the 1812 Constitution Monument, a towering tribute to Spain's first liberal constitution, standing proudly in Plaza de España. From there, the city opens up with statues and fountains near the cruise ship docks, a welcome sight for visitors arriving by sea, and a reminder that Cadiz has always been a gateway to the world. The Cathedral of Cadiz, with its golden dome and sweeping Baroque and neoclassical design, dominates the skyline. Step inside and you're met with soaring ceilings and chapels, or climb the Poniente Tower for panoramic views across the city and the Atlantic. But Cadiz isn't just about grand monuments. It's the narrow streets and plazas, each corner alive with history, each alley leading to another discovery. And then there's the beaches. La Caleta Beach is the jewel, framed by two castles, the star-shaped Santa Catalina on one side and the fortress of San Sebastian stretching out into the sea, like guardians of the bay. The central market and food hall buzzes with life. Tapas bars line the stalls, sizzling pans and clinking glasses creating a soundtrack of Cadiz's culinary soul. You could easily spend the day here, hopping from counter to counter. And yet in Cadiz, we've barely scratched the surface. Hidden beneath the city lies the Roman theatre, built in the 1st century BC, once one of the largest in the empire, seating up to 10,000 spectators. There are museums too. The Museum of Cadiz with its archaeology and fine arts collections, the Museum de la Cortes preserving the story of the 1812 Constitution, and even quirky gems like the Puppet Museum. For a breath of fresh air, wander into Parc Genoves, a romantic 19th century botanical garden filled with sculpted trees, fountains and exotic plants, offering a tranquil escape by the sea. Cadiz is a city of layers: Phoenician, Roman, Moorish, Spanish, each leaving its mark. And while today we're tracing its cafe bars and pubs, the monuments, museums, gardens and beaches remind us that this is a city that deserves far more than a single crawl. Cadiz is a passport you'll want to stamp again and again. Back to the crawl, and it now takes a playful turn at TKO Tacos. More of a food spot than a pub, but with a bar good enough to pull us in for a beer. And honestly, it's not just the drinks or the menu that make this place worth a stop, it's the walls. Bright, colourful and bursting with life. They're adorned with chili peppers, lemons, grapes, olives and ears of corn. It feels like stepping into a mural of harvest and flavour. And then, dominating the scene, a huge picture of the Last Supper, a bold dramatic centrepiece that ties the whole room together. The effect is inviting, vibrant and unforgettable. TKO Tacos may lean towards food, but it earns its place in the crawl with atmosphere alone. A bar wrapped in colour, flavour and a touch of the divine. Next, our crawl takes us into a charming little square, where San Francisco Uno waits with tables tucked neatly into the plaza. This stop isn't just about drinks, it's about the food, and plenty of it. We ordered a spread that felt like a Spanish grandmother's table. Croquettes with that homemade touch, fresh bread, a pan of paella, shrimp tortillas, crisp and golden, and tuna steaks laid across bread like hearty tapas. All of it washed down with 2 cold beers. And the bill, just €31.80. A feast of flavours at a price that makes you smile. San Francisco Uno is proof that Cadiz's cafe bar culture isn't only about sipping. It's about sharing plates, filling tables and savouring the square around you. And just across the square, the crawl takes a Celtic twist. O'Connell's, Cadiz's Irish bar, stands ready with its own brand of character. Step inside, you're met with dark woods, gleaming taps and that unmistakable pub atmosphere that feels both familiar and far from home. Guinness flows alongside local beers. Expats and travellers mix with locals, and where the square outside becomes an extension of the bar itself. O'Connell's brings a touch of Dublin to Andalusia, A reminder that Cadiz's cafe bar culture isn't just local, it's global, welcoming influences from far and wide. For us, it's another stamp in the passport. A pint poured with Irish spirit, right here in the heart of Cadiz. And the Crawl loves an Irish bar. And this feels like a good opportunity to drop in this episode's joke.
A weasel walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Wow, I've never served a weasel before. What can I get you?" Pop goes the weasel.
And for our last stop, we roll into the Woodstock Pub. At 7 p.m, it's quiet apart from the pool balls clacking. It's the kind of calm that lets you take in the space, sip a drink and reset after the crawl. But we're told that later in the night, this place transforms. Packed, buzzing, alive with energy. Woodstock carries that dual personality. Early evening calm, late night chaos. It's the kind of bar that waits for the crowd to arrive, then bursts into life, becoming one of Cadiz's go-to spots once the city really gets moving. For us, it's the perfect finale, a quiet pint to close the crawl, with a promise of a party still to come. Along the way, we couldn't resist ducking into a few other bars, just to see if anything stood out as truly out of the ordinary for the crawl. Each one was nice, welcoming and worth a visit, but they carried a similar vibe to the cafe bars we'd already explored. They're all in close proximity to the bars we'd already done. Easy to wander between, and while they didn't make the main crawl list this time, they still add to Cadiz's charm. Here are a few photos of those stops, a reminder that in this city, even the ordinary bars have their own warmth and character. And that brings our Cadiz crawl to a close. From the inventive flair of Demente, the boxing stories at the cabin, the colour of TKO Tacos, the feast of San Francisco Uno, the Irish spirit of O'Connell's, and finally the calm before the chaos at the Woodstock Pub. Each stop stamped its own identity on our passport, but Cadiz itself is the real star. A city of plazas and narrow streets, monuments and markets, beaches framed by castles, and a history that stretches back 3,000 years. We barely scratched the surface. The Roman theatre, the museums, the gardens, and countless other bars and corners still waiting to be explored. This crawl is just one chapter in a much bigger story. So raise a glass to Cadiz, a city where cafe bars hum with character, where history and hospitality blend seamlessly, and where every sip feels like part of the Atlantic breeze. Another stamp in the passport, another story told, and plenty more waiting for the next detour. Now here's the riddle for the next Destination X.
A bridge so high it makes you stare. Two sides of town meet in the air. Cliffs drop steep, the view's a maze. A Spanish gem in mountain haze. Tapas flow and stories spin. Bullring echoes where crowds have been. A town that clings both bold and free. Climb high to visit our next city.
See if you can solve it and drop your answer in the comments. And the next episode will be uploaded in a couple of days. Tune in to see if you got it right. And thanks very much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And until the next time, adios.